Welcome to the United We Scan podcast, the podcast by rural carriers for rural carriers. The views expressed in this podcast do not reflect the views or opinions of the United States Postal Service or the National Rural Letter Carriers Association. We ask that you please consult your assigned union representative for guidance in your local area. Make sure you like this podcast, share with your fellow rural carriers, and subscribe to be notified each time a new episode is uploaded. Please rate this podcast 5 stars where applicable and leave a comment or question for us below. Thank you. Now, here are the hosts of the United We Scan podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. We are at episode 29. We took a week off as a few of us had our state conventions last weekend, so we are back now. How's the last couple of weeks been treating you, Mike?
Well, last couple of weeks have been pretty good. Actually, let me look at the calendar. Let me see what the last couple of weeks were because my head's not on straight. Let's see. Let's see. That's July. So here's June. So last couple of weeks. So last weekend I was, while you were at state convention, I was getting together with my whole family in Tennessee, with my dad, and all of my extended family for a long weekend. And other than that, it's just been normal work. But work has not been too bad the last couple of weeks. So that's
good.
me.
Hey, Josh, how was your past couple weeks?
Pretty good. I think my state convention ended as yours was getting ready to begin. And if I knew you were in Tennessee, I would have told you to swing by. Depending on where in the state you were, it's only a few more hours. Yeah, I had to educate management again and different things. They inquired why I was putting my leave in on ELRA rather than putting in slips, because they have to go in and answer to them in ERMs. I'm like, well, I'm not getting my slips back, copy of my slip back received, so that's why I started doing it. It's like, well, you're dealing with me now, so we'll see how that goes. The next couple times I put in slips, she'll sign them and give them back to me the same day.
James, I know I spent a few days with you at convention. How has it been otherwise?
Other than a short week last week because of convention, it's been pretty good. My postmaster actually supports the dimensions for parcels that was listed in the PO 603 under mail count, which has been obviously been told to us that it's been deleted and no longer applies. And so I talked with my postmaster after, and she said, I'm still going to support those dimensions until they update the PO 603. The PO 603 is still the current document that has the measurements in it. So she's going to support it, which I support my postmaster fully on that. So it helps my carriers out a lot with that. Touring around up in Sault Ste. Marie was awesome. Had a lot of fun outside of the convention, touring the sites, including the shipwreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald at the Great Lakes Shipwreck Museum and the Valley Camp Museum ship, which is a former freighter that's been converted into a museum, which also had artifacts from the Edmund Fitzgerald. So watch ships go through the Soo Locks up there, going from Lake Michigan and Lake Huron up to Lake Superior, toured the original Weather Bureau office, which was built in the 1890s, and delivered weather information to the ships right there at the locks. That was pretty cool to see. Got on the Tower of History that was there. It was designed to be a church thing that people could go to, but they lost funding, and so they turned it into a history tower that you can actually watch ships go by. And then just as we were about to leave, we got to see the Arthur M. Anderson, the last ship to ever talk to the Edmund Fitzgerald, was actually going northbound through the Soo Locks. So that was pretty cool. The drive up was good. The storms on Sunday, and then the smoke, of course, from the Canadian wildfires. But it was really nice to get out and see all my friends in the convention, and we'll definitely talk more about that here a little later in the episode. But the short week last week was really nice. Not much in terms of mail. Still took a while to get it done. Kind of rusty after having so many days off. But it was really nice. Nice couple of weeks. I had a good discussion with quite a few people up there as well, and some issues that didn't get resolved that will have to be resolved in another manner. But we'll get there.
Bill, how has it been for you, dear?
See, I've worked one whole day in the last 2 weeks between our convention last week and moving the previous week. I only worked one day, which was a Friday, and that was only because they would have had 3 routes down instead of 2. So I said, I couldn't do that, and I went in, even though I could have used the whole week. I sacrificed myself for my fellow carriers and my customers.
He's such a martyr.
Yeah, right. I'm not giving my life up willingly, but it'll be nice to get back to work and get to see my people and my dogs and my customers and the kids and all that. I miss that. I really do.
Yeah, it was.
How about you, Kristen?
It was a short week for me. I actually stayed 2 extra days after convention ended and observed the post-convention board meetings, which I do urge people that with the open board meetings in your state, go. It's educational. You really learn a lot of what goes on behind the scenes. So, other than that, I was back to work Friday. Ran my route and then went and helped the other newer RCA on the route that he's never run in its entirety. And then worked my double yesterday, sweltering in the LLV. But, nothing new there. Other than that, yeah, it's been pretty much same-o, same-o.
What about the week before the convention?
I was say one more plus. The young lady that broke her foot back in March came back this week, so.
And be like, yep, I worked.
I think that's everybody, but
yeah, I
except Bill.
worked. I had just my ox route for a few days. That was nice. So that definitely was a nice little break of just running and being done. Helped get some mapping updated, and then worked my double, and then left for convention on Sunday afternoon.
Well, my convention was that week before the 19th, the 19th to the 21st, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I was off that week, and then I couldn't remember what I had requested. So Sunday night, I pulled out my leave slip and I cried when I saw that my leave ended Sunday, not Monday. Because I thought I had taken Monday. I'm like, who wants to go back on a Monday?
Nobody.
Yeah, no. So I ended up having to go back on a Monday, and it was heavy.
Yeah, my office has been inundated with Amazon the last few weeks to the point we have a local contractor delivering Amazon. From my understanding, they pretty much switched which warehouse or contracting company delivers to the post office as opposed to which one goes to the contractor's hub. And needless to say, we're getting the bulk of it back. And I've been talking to my one RCA that is doing exceptionally well, but his comments to me last night when I got back as he was leaving were, he's really, he's having a hard time grasping the fact that we don't get paid anything different for doing extra work. And he's just like, can you tell me what, is it worth staying when I'm having to do all this work, extra work that, now I'm working over evaluation where he was coming in under evaluation, and he's just trying to explain how it's supposed to equal itself out it's kind of difficult for those that are newer as opposed to those of us that have been around a while. So I'm really worried. I don't want him to leave because, number one, he'd be my sub. And number two, he does do a good job. He really is good, and he gets it. So I'm hoping I can convince him not to leave, that, it's worth it in the end. It's just that next one to go, we don't know when they're going to go. I mean, it could be the end of this year, it could be next year, it could be 2 years down the road. We don't know. So that's his whole thing, is it going to be worth the wait for me? So, I mean, I understand it as somebody who's trying to provide for their family. I really do. So hopefully, fingers crossed. But other than that, let's see. I go back and I work by 47, not my route, but the 47K on Monday. We are actually not coming in Tuesday to Case. Yay! I have Tuesday off completely. And then Wednesday, yes, the day after the holiday, we start OJT with the brand new sub on the 47K route.
Woohoo!
I did find out he was actually the only one in his academy class last week. Not this
Wow.
past week, but the week before. He had one-on-one academy all week. My old regular,
We're like 3-on-1, right?
yeah.
3-on-1.
And so, and then my old regular, from my first office, her and I roomed together for state convention, and she told me that she went into the break room Friday, and the academy instructor and my new RCA was in there, and she looked at him. She goes, "I've heard all about you," and he just gave her this look of what the heck. So I'll have to clear that up with him Wednesday a little bit. Like, I'm sorry, yeah, but he, from what I understand, for the academy instructor, she was texting with her a little bit. He seems like he's going to be a good one, which we were thinking about. He did come in Case 2 or 3 days while I was gone, just to, start learning the case. And I talked to the regular on that route, and she's like, yeah, he was doing really good. He's hopefully will stick with it, and we should find out. I've got another one in the pipeline coming up, so that'll give us, that one comes through, and as long as everybody's still there, that'll give us 5 RCAs for 5K routes and an H in my aux, and there goes my hours. But with a brand new car payment that's a little bit higher. But oh yes, I forgot, we haven't been on. I got my new car finally. The one I was looking at.
Yay.
Yes. I picked that up. I've had it, a week and a half now, so it'll be 2 weeks Wednesday that I got it.
It already had a flat tire.
Yeah, I got a flat tire the very next day. I went to go pick up my
And then
youngest.
scared the crap out of us, saying you got into an accident, but it was with the postal truck and not your own car. We were all
Yeah.
thinking you smashed your new car up already.
No, yeah, last Saturday before I left for convention, I was in a little fender bender with the LLV. Was not my fault, but no major issues. I guess VMF did take the truck Thursday. Basically, I was going to make a left-hand turn into the driveway at my turnaround point, and blinker was on, dusty gravel road, so I didn't see her behind me. She thought I was, since it is a little bit narrow gravel road, she thought I was going to the right to let her pass me. So she come up on the left as I'm going to turn. She then noticed that I was trying to turn, so she tried to go towards the driveway more to lessen the impact. So it was a slow little impact. She could get the front of her pickup, hit the left-hand front quarter panel, and knock the bumper off the one mount. So didn't have an extra truck with everybody out running, so the supervisor came out, did our accident report thing, and then we finagled the bumper back sort of in place, bungee corded it so I could finish the day. Otherwise, the right-hand side was rubbing on that front right tire. But all in all, everybody was okay. We both got out of the vehicles. She's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'm fine." She gives me a hug. And then she told me how she was already upset on her way to a girlfriend. She had left her garage door open, and she had baby birds that were in a dog crate, and another animal had gotten through the slots on the dog crate, and, well, all her baby birds unfortunately did not make it, and it was not a pretty sight. So she was a little upset too. So then I had to give her a hug, and then we sat there just chit-chatting for the next half hour or so till the supervisor got out there, and we did all our paperwork and made up all our reports and statements and whatnot. So Yeah, that was my very first accident after 8.5 years.
No.
Yeah.
Talking about our. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Kristen. I didn't interrupt.
So yeah, accidents happen. They do. But all in all, I'm looking forward to training the new guy this next week. Not looking forward to the temperatures, so I go from one extreme in the winter riding in the back in the jump seat to in the middle of in the middle of July riding in the jump seat. So one extreme to the other. So that'll be
Yeah.
fun.
We need to invest in
I'd
one of
rather
those
July where
battery
you're
powered
at
fans.
than July where I'm at.
What was that, guys? You were talking over each other.
Go, James.
I said you're going to have to invest in one of those battery powered fans.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do something.
I said I'd rather July where you're at than July where I'm at.
Yes, this is true. This is very true. And this route does go
You can
along.
keep your January though.
I'll trade you January's. And this route, the nice thing about this route, it does go, we've got two inland lakes as well as Lake Huron, and it does go north and south across the one inland lake, and then you do up along 23 along the lake shore. So you do get if there's a nice breeze coming off there, it does help. So I don't know how much it'll help me sitting in the jump seat, but I will just make sure I have plenty of frozen water bottles with me.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, all in all, it was a decent
If
couple weeks.
if you bring a cooler to keep your water bottles in,
Uh-huh.
if you have ice in the cooler, take a rag or bring two rags, one that you keep in the cooler, the other around your neck, and then swap them every half hour or so.
Yes, I'm well aware. I don't have
It
HC in
helps.
my POV either. I know how it works.
Okay.
But no, yeah.
You haven't set up the elbow PVC pipe with the bungee cord?
No, I haven't.
I know a lot of people, you see, I can't use it because I don't have enough deadhead time to make it worth it.
Yeah. The only one I really have enough deadhead time, I mean, my primary, but that's a POV route. I just get lucky enough to get to use an LLV when I run it with my aux, so that helps. Yeah, I don't get the mileage, which I'm not worried about, but my POV, honestly, I don't think would last through the route right now. And I'd really hate to be on the far northwest end of that route where there's absolutely no cell service and the car just finally dies. So they're working with me, and I only got a few more months here and I'll be full time. So they at least work with me on that. I'm not going to complain one bit.
Well, no, I'm saying you've seen that on Facebook, that hack
Mhm.
where they take the PVC
Yep.
elbow.
Yep, I have seen it
So
many
it'll
times.
That's what I'm saying. I don't have enough time where I'm in motion enough or for a long enough distance for it to even be worth trying.
Right. Well, I completely understand that. Yeah, but yeah, so when life throws you rotten lemons, like, the fiasco with my car getting totaled out by somebody that should not have been driving it, and then the insurance company being awesome and my settlement paid off my loan and I still had a nice hefty down payment, I upgraded. So I went from a 2018 Jeep Compass Latitude, basically the base model. I had the cold weather package, the heated seats and steering wheel, and that was the one thing my boyfriend's like, "Can we keep the heated seats, please?" So I found a 2021 Jeep Compass Trailhawk with, and everybody, if anybody's
Nice.
familiar with it, Trailhawk's the off-road package, but it also has the tow package, and it has all the bells and whistles, the heated seats, steering wheel, the lane assist, the adaptive cruise controls. I had fun playing with all that at my trip to Sault Ste. Marie. Yeah, I got, when I went in and test drove it, I was like, "Yep, I'm home." So I've got that. Picked it up last Wednesday. Thank you. Shout out to APCU and being awesome with getting me pre-qualified before they got my settlement check for the other one. So they've been great for me to work with on personal loans, car loans, checking, savings, my kids' savings accounts. I personally have never had any bad dealings with them at all. So, but yeah, so I got my new car and I'm enjoying it. And I get to take it to Ohio in a couple of weeks for a weekend away from everything.
Right.
Yeah,
Nice.
I am looking forward to some personal, long, heavy metal tattoo festival. So if any of you out there that are listening that are going to be at Incarceration Festival, shout out. If you see me, give me a holler. If not, hey, we'll all be there. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that weekend away from everything.
Definitely take a lot off your mind.
Oh, yes, yes.
These past few weeks, we've had a bunch of state conventions going on. Anybody want to share any details? I know we can't explain a lot of stuff that occurred, but we could talk about how it was and what you saw, kind of things.
Me.
Oh,
You
all right.
last.
Fine.
You last, Bill.
Damn. Again.
Go ahead, Josh.
Okay. So last year's state convention, we had 42, 47 first timers. This year they took account. We had 22 second timers and we had 54 first timers.
That's awesome.
We had the committeeman position up. I ran against the incumbent and did not make it. I wasn't expecting to. Me and that committeeman that did win have very similar outlooks on how we like the union to be in the long run. So I wasn't upset for not winning. We had a total of seven resolutions, two of which were under new business that passed and are going to national. We also had a few constitution changes that passed. I don't have my packet in front of me to go through what those are, but they were only state level changes, one of which was introduced in new business by a first timer, which passed. Shirley Baffa was our national representative there. I missed most of her presentation because I was on the Constitution Committee. So I did not, we were reading during her presentation. One of our Constitution changes that they will bring in the Constitution and Resolution Committee at least one day in advance prior to the start of the convention. So we can meet on these things and not miss important business like that.
Yep, that's what ours does.
Some of the old timers said that they have had that before, that they used to do that, and then for whatever reason they just stopped. I don't know how long ago that was. Last year was my first year on the Constitution Committee, so I can't speak for anything prior to that.
James, I'll let you lead off with Michigan.
Well, I know we had more people than last year for first timers, which was great to see. It was very enlightening in a lot of respects. Being my first time as an actual delegate, it came with a lot of responsibility that I felt, at least, to do the right thing for the carriers, not only for me, but for everybody in my county, as well as in the state and in the country, because you go to these things and you're actually making decisions that can go on to the national convention. So being able to sit there and put my own words to it without just sitting and being an observer or asking our now Director of Labor Relations to suspend the rules so I can present a resolution like I did last year makes it more interesting and made me more involved in what was going on. On the first day, we got our resolutions and Constitution changes, and that night I read through every single one and marked the ones that I needed either more information on, did not like, things like that. So that way, when we finally got to that in the convention proceedings, we could flow through it I could flow through it faster and, as they say, object to the ones I needed either clarification or thought was not well written, not well presented, or didn't really make logical sense to me. Kristen can attest, I did a lot.
You actually moved your seat up by the microphone.
Yes, I had to move my seat up by the microphone, but also that helped that I could assist in people with that are vertically challenged to be able to talk into the mic. Also, it was the fact that there were so many. There were actually duplicate resolutions that were just different enough that they had to be separate resolutions. So if you voted to pass one, the other one got rejected. If you rejected the first one, the second one came up for a vote. So it was interesting to see all that process. And ours, of course, the person who was with ours was our very own Director of Labor Relations from the state of Michigan, Bridget Boziak, who was our national representative at ours. And she brought up some good points and some interesting facts and had a great meeting with her. It was nice to have a sit down conversation with her, and I appreciate her taking the time to give me her opinion on things. So it was a great time overall, and hopefully we can continue to work together and resolve issues and things like that. Overall, I think we did have a really, really quick convention, if I might say, because it was a lot shorter than the last one in a lot of respects.
Yeah, as well, this I've been to numerous conventions, so this definitely wasn't my first time as a delegate at state convention. We had 20 first timers this year, which was more than last year. I was counting them as they were going up there and getting their stuff and posing for their picture. And we had 33 resolutions that could go on to national. Of those 33, I do believe if I just counted right, 16 of them passed. We did have a new business from a first-timer resolution that wasn't included in the packet. She was nervous going up there, but it was an awesome, awesome resolution. Like I said, first time up at the mic, pretty nervous, so I let her to where she just kind of stopped, didn't know what else to go, so I hopped up and I finished it off for her. And her regular, who also happened to attend and was one of them I went out to dinner with on Tuesday evening, she thanked me for, she's like, I just wanted to pass it on. She says, thank you so much for going up there and helping her. I'm like, hey, not a problem. And that resolution did pass. So it was an awesome resolution. I'll give it.
I don't even think that one had any discussion before it was passed either.
No, it really didn't.
That good.
Yeah, and even, yeah, everybody really applauded that one. I'll give her that. And of course, and when it passed, she got a standing ovation too. Just number one, because she was a first timer and put up that resolution, and number two, it was an awesome resolution. So
3, she had the guts to get up there and actually put it up.
Yes. And my resolution on did pass without any discussion, so that one went through rather easily. So yeah, we had some good ones go through. We had a few withdrawn because of a couple that failed. They kind of went hand in hand with the other one again. So yeah, all in all, that it did go rather quickly this time around. I will say that it was nice to see a lot of great information that was passed around. I did run for junior member. That was actually the only position on the state board we actually had to take a vote on. Everybody else got voted back in unanimously. Nobody running against them. There was 3 of us that ran for the junior member. I did not make it. That's okay though. Bill, it is your turn.
Mine?
Yes, all you now, dear.
Mine? It's my turn?
Yes.
Oh,
It's your turn. It's your turn, big boy.
We started our convention on Sundays, and there's a lot of meetings, labor stewards, and everything else that they get out of the way before the actual convention starts. Mm-hmm. But I was surprised. I'm in line for my registration credentials, and some woman heard me. She goes, Bill, and I said, looked around, and she goes, you're Bill. And I said, yes, I am. She goes, no, you're Bill from the podcast. I said, which one? She goes, United We Scan. I love it. You guys are awesome. And I mean, it's like, I found a long lost friend that I never knew I had. And through the rest of the convention, there was close to 30 some people that, were all, kind of like groupies for us. And it's like, that made me feel so good that people are listening and getting advice and everything from us. And they really appreciate it because they're often in offices that don't have, access to the information or where to even look for it. So we're doing a great job, folks. Pat yourselves on the back. our convention was, a standard Pennsylvania convention. It's well run and timely and everything. There were a couple of faux pas that were brought to their attention by your favorite asshole. Again, one of the things that struck me about the convention was here we are again. We're a 4,000 plus strong member state, and we had a hard time getting 25% of the candidates to show up at the convention. And it's a dire reminder, folks, of the apathy that our membership is suffering from. And I applaud all of you on this podcast because of the fact that we have gotten recognition for bringing people back into the union and lifting their spirits up and making them want to stand up and fight for themselves. So, kudos to all of you, even to myself. But, this is one of the greatest dangers besides the post office, to this craft is the apathy. And we've got to find a way of turning people around and getting them to believe in the union, in their steward system, in their, labor department, and, at the presidential and vice presidential level in regards to defending their interests and protecting them from, whatever harassment or intimidation they're encountering every day in their office. Other than that, like I said, it was, business during the day and alcoholic business at night. And it's funny.
Don't pull a muscle. Don't pull a muscle patting yourself on the back there, Bill.
Oh, no. But I'll tell you what, it's funny because at nighttime we had 30, 40 people around this big courtyard that was in the center of the hotel with a fire pit and everything. And sure, the alcohol flowed freely and food and snacks and everything else. But, you know how much we got done discussing the resolutions and everything, sitting around that little fire pit.
Yeah.
I mean, people think it's just a party, but boy, we were out there at 10:30 one night, discussing, and then several people went back to the room till 1:00, still working on stuff. So it's like the national convention there. Oh, it's a one big party, folks. It's not a party. It's harder work than carrying your damn route because it's a lot longer.
And it's all mental. It's that mental drain that it does on you, and you actually come back more tired than you are if you were running your route that day or for that week, because it really is. It is.
That's why I think a couple days after to decompress.
Yeah, it really is a mental drain. And I mean, I get it where people have that mentality because they see the pictures from, the banquets, and they see the photos posted of, people gathered around out on the patios and whatnot and with their beers, but they're not hearing the conversation that we're talking at those tables, which is like what Bill was saying. A lot of us talk about the resolutions because, we get a chance to look at them before they're presented. And so a lot of that talk is about that, or it's, you're talking about your conditions in your office, or it's work talk, usually. I would say a good 75-90% of it is work talk as we're decompressing from sitting on a convention floor all day long.
Well, we have one particular individual that actually had the cooler in the tub for all his alcohol needs.
Mm-hmm.
The funniest part is he hardly drinks. But he's got a flip chart on there for resolutions and everything and discussions and articles and everything. And it's like, folks, I sit there and laugh because if I see a beer in his hand, I'm surprised because he's so busy working on this stuff 24/7.
Yeah.
And the ironic part of it is he's a retiree.
I know exactly who you're talking about. Yes, he is one of those handful of retirees that is still very much involved in what is going on today.
And an asset.
Yes, definitely. I did have conversation with him at Mid-States. He did attend. So definitely one of those awesome assets that we enjoy having that wants to see betterment for the craft, even though they're no longer have their, boots in the trenches, so to say.
That's like with the resort we were at, because of, they recommend having reservations for the meals, that were not included in the convention. So Monday night we had dinner reservations at the Italian restaurant there. One of the girls from my office that was there. Her husband was there, and a couple that they're friends with that are not postal workers just happened to be up there in the area also. She asked me if they want, could they join us for dinner? I'm like, well, let me know, but just make sure they're not going to be upset or offended that we're talking shop through the whole meal. You know what I'm saying? Because like you were just saying, it even though we're off, we're not during the meetings, we're having dinner on our own, we're still talking about what happened that day on the convention floor where, like you said, what do we think of this resolution or constitution change? What can we do to improve everything?
Yeah, the biggest thing I saw overall was how dedicated a lot of these people were to this information. And when we got to after objections, because our resolutions, we go through the resolution and they first read the number, and if nobody objects to it first, then they read the resolution. Then if nobody objects to it, once the gavel drops, it is considered passed. So after we object, we then go through all of them, and then we go back through the ones we objected and discuss them. And a couple of them, we get 10 minutes total time to actually discuss them, 2 minutes per person. And that's in our state constitution to do that. And with that, we had some people that actually requested more time to discuss the item because the ideas weren't fully finished, and that requires a vote on the floor for people to extend the time to talk about it. And we did that several times because it was such a good discussion. We needed to complete the discussion and finish it out, and it was really good. And then at times we were in the middle of a discussion and people were saying the same things over and over, and then people would just step up and basically call the question for the vote and get people to vote for it, because you're saying the same things over and over. We might as well move on to the next thing. That's one of the best things I see is people actually getting up and being passionate about talking about the topics that are up for vote. It really is humbling to think that even though we don't see this in the posts online and we don't see it in action in our offices and things like that, like we would want, to be able to go to these conventions is a great way to see kind of behind the curtain of what's going on. Even if you're not a delegate, sometimes attending these conventions is a great way to go. I met a few non-delegates at my convention, and like Bill said, we had several people walk up and go, "Oh, you're that guy on the podcast." Or for Kristen, it'd be, "You're that girl on the podcast." Things like that. And it's so nice and humbling to know that we're all here and we're actually making a difference. Just like the conventions make a difference, this podcast is making a difference. And I really want to thank every single one of our fans out there for sharing us, listening to us, and all that stuff.
Well, we had one that we were discussing that, debate time got extended 2 or 3 times, and then they would not let us extend time anymore. And it wasn't because it was the same points being brought up back and forth. It was just due to time. We need to move this on, because I think it was that debate was over an amendment to what was originally proposed.
And that's what's nice when you have a resolution on the floor and it's getting discussed and people are objecting to this language or that language. It can be amended, and the offering party, in our case, what we call a chapter, can turn around and remove it and work on it some more and bring it back on the closing day as new business that can be voted on, which, gives you the time and opportunity to collaborate with, people around you to, fine tune it to the point where it's acceptable to the individuals who objected to the language originally.
Yeah.
It's a collaboration. It's a collaboration for and against a resolution, but it gets you to the final language, which can be then an accepted resolution.
Yeah, because the premise of the idea of the actual resolution was a good idea. It's just you needed to tighten up the language more for it to fly.
Right.
I get it totally. Yeah, we've had a few of those too.
And sometimes it just comes down to changing just one word.
Yep. Yeah.
And it makes it so much better to change that one word to pass it on than it does to have the original word that was there. And
Right.
to have everybody in the
And
room actually agree that that one word is the only thing that needs to be changed is an amazing thing to see.
and it could be something as simple as instead of will, shall, or vice versa.
And
Yep.
here's the funny part is that after 7 hard apple ciders and 8 fireballs, you finally find enough people to agree with the wording.
Right?
Yeah.
Social lubrication, we call that.
I'll put it this way: there was no drinking on the floor that we knew of. Just
Oh,
to be
yeah,
aware
this is
that
true.
we know of. That we know of.
No, that type of discussion's done off the convention floor.
Off the floor. Yeah.
On the patio.
Yes.
So let me make this perfectly clear to myself. The 603 standards are no longer viable because they were established under the old mail count system. The new standards, which have not been published for the REX program, which has been now 11 plus years in the making, have not been updated yet.
There are references to parcel things in the Rex guide and on the quick reference sheet that both management and the union have provided. However, there is no definitive measurements for what a parcel is or is not. And this is related to unscanned parcel.
And
So
the 603 has also not been updated correctly. Correct?
the PO 603 probably will not be updated for several years. I believe the last one before this one was updated in the 70s, and then this one was updated in 2013. So if that's any track record of how long it takes them to update documents concerning this stuff, there's your answer. But that's supposedly it's in the works. But until then,
you can put my copy in with my grave, okay?
Yep. And but as I said, it is carrier discretion how you guys want to approach it, and everything listed in the Rex guide and the quick reference guide and the 99-page guide all point to its carrier discretion. Carriers are the ones that are supposed to be deciding these things. So get with your local steward if management is hassling you, especially if they're saying it has to be shoebox size.
That's a city reference.
Yes.
Speaking of referencing,
why would you say that's a shitty reference?
I didn't say it was a shitty reference. I said, speaking of referencing things, I had
just because he's having audio troubles doesn't mean you have to pick on how he's talking.
Oh, that reminds me. It reminds me, Kristen, I have to tell you something after we stop recording.
Okay.
I had an off-the-record conversation with our national board member, asked if there was any updates to the RCAM, and was told that it is getting ready to go through final approval and then printing, but they were not overly enthused with some of the language that was put into it.
Oh, Jesus.
That it was, in their opinion, it's a bit vague.
Most of Rex.
Set?
Most of Rex is vague.
Well, no, I'm saying the RCAM, which is supposed to be the joint manual, combined, giving you reference to all the manuals and everything, taking the contract step by step, like the JCAM for the city side.
Okay.
It's supposed to eliminate the gray areas language-wise in the contract to something that's agreed upon before both parties. So you have something in the contract that, you look at and it's like, that's not, it's a gray area. It's supposed to fill in that gap, but we'll see when it comes out.
I don't understand. I thought 3 master evil engineers got together, agreed upon all these, algorithm, metrics, and everything else. And now we're in a position where these guys who've never rode in the back of a truck or anything are sitting there saying, okay, we might have missed this or that.
No.
Let me correct that
not Rex.
a little bit.
No,
let me correct that. The engineers only designed the program for the calculations. The numbers for the values were argued back and forth between the Postal Service and the union. The numbers that they actually charge for each of the parts were actually figured out between the two, probably because the engineers would just basically build the program to work the way that the union and the Postal Service wanted it to do. The numbers had to come from other factors, which includes people that actually have access to that information, even though at mid-states, the regional manager proved that they don't have access to those numbers as management somehow.
Yep.
But that's how they figured it out. So don't blame the engineers for the actual numbers, because they just built the program the way they were told to build it.
Look, if your name is Miracle, then you ought to be able to pull one out.
We're hoping for a miracle.
Hail Mary.
Same thing. We're all praying.
I'm an atheist and I'm praying. Swear to God.
So, any other important updates you guys have that you guys want to put forth from your state conventions? That interesting facts, people that talk to you, information that you want to relay to people and let them know that maybe they should go to their conventions?
Well, I had a couple people who didn't know the proceedings in regards to balloting and everything else, which we had to explain that to them. They didn't understand, when they got up to the microphone, that they had to identify themselves, the proper procedure for Robert's rules. And just the little nuances that they follow, and that the parliamentarian is sitting there making sure that you follow these rules in regards to how you conduct your meeting. And they were like, well, why is the state president talking to this lady? Well, because this lady does this for a job. This is her living, and she knows more about the rules than most of our state officers know. They travel around the country, doing this for a living, and they enforce it to make sure that you are within the guidelines of your charter and the Robert's rules in regards of recognizing, or like you have ending discussions, the time limits, and all that. Everything has to follow the rules. So they were surprised how strict they were in most instances, but we had one lapse that was brought to their attention, and hopefully it won't happen again.
Yeah, I got smacked down a couple of times. Just simple mistakes that people make. I wasn't the only one to make that mistake, but unfortunately I was the one at the mic when the lady finally decided to tell the president, hey, you shouldn't be doing it that way. So I got the smackdown, but everybody else got notified by me getting the smackdown that I wasn't supposed to be doing it that way. And I call it the smackdown, but it was actually a polite and informative. But if you do something wrong, you need to do it. You need to get told how to do it right. And then that's the key, is because they're actually transcripting the meetings. They actually have a transcriptionist, just like a courtroom, writing the minutes of the meeting.
Yeah, we had a first timer come up who she just wanted clarification on one of the resolutions, and they needed to explain to her that you have to object to it just to ask a clarifying question.
Well, no, you don't have to according
to because if there's no objection, it automatically passes.
No, you can actually get up there for it and ask for a clarification of the language, though. That acts as the same as an objection. You can be for it, but object to the language.
I did that on a couple. And you object to it first, and then when it comes up under the objections, you go objected for clarification.
Right.
And usually once they give the clarification, then you can turn around, and after your clarification, you can just go call the question.
See, now in our state, when you go up to the microphone, you're supposed to have your yay or nay card with you, and you're supposed to front it to the president who's calling the microphones out, as far as whether you're objecting or agreeing with it. And then she alternates them, back and forth until there's either no more objections or supporting arguments for it. And then she can go through the rest of either objections or supporting before they close the question.
Or you run out of time.
people going up there that didn't have their cards, and then she has to, are you for it? Are you against it? Well, what's going on? It just, if you do it the way it's supposed to be, it's a lot smoother. Like I said, we had 27, 28 newbies there, so they got their feet wet and learned a little lesson.
Yeah, but all in all, in ours at least, it was very professional. Everybody acted with good decorum. There weren't outbursts or courtroom drama, so to speak, kind of thing. And to be honest, the level of intelligent thought people had towards the resolutions was refreshing. People actually stood up and voiced their concerns in a reasonable and logical sense. There wasn't any attacks on people. There wasn't any.
Nothing got heated, basically.
Yes. Yeah. And last year we had a couple instances where it got heated over specific people, not things, but people. But this year it was really nice to flow through the stuff and get through it with logical decorum.
Yeah, we'll save that.
We
We'll
had
save that for Grand Rapids.
What? What'd you say, Bill?
we had some heated debate, but it was all healthy.
Yes.
It was all
Debate's
professional.
okay if it's healthy, yes.
It was all professional, but some of it did get heated, and it was not geared specifically to an individual or anything. It was they were getting a little passionate about their stance. We actually one of our past presidents, he actually stepped away from the mic because he realized he was starting to get a little carried away there on what he was arguing. So he stepped away, collected himself, and then came back up to make his point.
Like how you talk about when you get overwhelmed, take a step back, take a breath, and then step back into it.
Yep.
Well, I had to hold myself back at one point because I felt like singing. I just wanted to say, I left my heart in San Francisco by Tony Bennett, but some little voice in the back of my head said, they don't want to hear you, Bill.
Yeah.
It's nice to know you do have a conscience sometimes.
Is that what that was?
I think so.
Or maybe common sense. I don't know.
I don't believe in that. Now I'll tell you what, I did something magnanimous, and people congratulated, thanked me and all. Our veterans unit was short 35 tickets of meeting 100 for the convention, and it's $5 a year, okay? And they made the announcement and all that, so I went up there and I said, I'd like to volunteer to pay for those 35 tickets. And they go, well, they're $5 each. I said, and they said, oh, you know how much money that is? And I said, and so they turned around. They turned around and came over and I gave them the cash, and they handed out 35 memberships to the veterans, to anybody who wanted to sign up for them.
That's awesome.
Which turned around and made them eligible for the 4 book grants that the veterans were giving out that night at the dinner, that our annual banquet.
That's
so
awesome.
Made me feel good.
$5. My membership was $10 this year
For veterans?
for the Veterans Club. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's because you're ugly.
Yeah, well, that could be it.
Hey, now let's keep the decorum here, just like the state convention.
Well, I'm just trying to be truthful. I mean,
It's only it's only undecorum like if it's not true.
Yes.
True.
And trust me, if there was 35 of them at $10, I'd have still paid for them.
This is true.
It's worth it. It's worth it.
We had a silent auction where you wrote down, your name and the amount that you're bidding on certain items. And I have this little guy on my route that just loves the mail truck, and I've gotten him several little die-cast models. So I turned around and I had this one where the last bid on it was $19, so I just wrote $50 in there. Boy, everybody just cussed me out for. I said, well, hold on, is the money going to PAC for a good reason and everything? Yeah, okay. Yeah, am I giving this to a little kid on my route to make his day? He goes, yeah, okay. What do you get upset about? It's my money. You know, they didn't say nothing when I spent, $350 for a throw blanket last year. And the dog loves that blanket too.
Mhm.
I know that pack is a big, big thing at the convention. Ours, big, big donation at ours for it. It was really nice to see a lot of people participating in that. And we had 3 items go up for bid, and they all went for exorbitant amount of monies, in my opinion. But I'm on table two, so it's anything over $5 is exorbitant to me. But but it was actually really nice to see people getting involved in that. And one of our carriers' husbands is a professional auctioneer, and he comes to these conventions, and he actually is our auctioneer for those events. So it's really nice to have a real auctioneer stand up and do the auction.
We
And
used
get
to have
participation
one
from that.
that came to our conventions, but he has completely retired at this point. So, and the last 2 years we were at the casino, which is on Indian ground, which it's not legal to have an auction. So on the reservation ground. So the last time they were there a few years back, they actually went off the reservation to hold the banquet and an auction. This year and last year, they just did the pack banquet by donation for the meal, and then the silent auctions. So it'll be interesting to see next year when the state convention's up the street, what they do, what they decide to do, if they'll go back to having an auction or not.
All in all, I think it was a great event. A lot of new faces, a lot of non-delegates and delegates at ours, and participation was up compared to last year. The number of
Oh,
people there were up from last year, in
yeah,
ours at least.
yeah,
So it's good to see people getting involved like that. I believe a lot of that has to do with the latest updates to our pay, but part of that also tells me that people want to get involved. People want to make a difference in this community of rural carriers, and want to take care of the rural carriers, want to help themselves, but at the same time help other carriers.
Well, not only that, but that sidebar to that is the amount of people who put their names in for committee positions on our state board. They're just local people. Maybe some of them are officers in their chapters or whatever. I mean, but we had at least 11 people throw their hats in the ring for the first time to
wow,
be on the state board, and that's encouraging to see them wanting to get their feet wet at that level.
That is awesome to
wow.
hear. Yeah.
How many rounds of election did that take?
Well, that was over 3 different positions. The one was a 1 against 1. One was the 4. That took 2 rounds. And then we had the other one, which was 5 people, and that took 3 rounds.
Okay, so that wasn't too bad.
No, because the ones with the multiples, the 4 and the 5, they both after the first round, the lowest person that was still left bailed out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it left it a 2-2 and a 3-on-3. So it went fairly easy, and the 3-on-3 hit the 2/3 majority. So
okay.
They won outright.
Yeah, that's
And the one was a slam dunk that I had mentioned before we recorded.
we had, it was me and the incumbent, out of, it was like 820 votes. I forget the exact number, but 425 was the simple majority, and he got, so I got 160 something, and he got the rest of them. But for someone who's hasn't been in, just recently really got involved, that's more than double just my district, which tells me that there are people other than my district who obviously all voted for me, did want me in there.
I voted for you twice, Josh.
And I appreciate it. I voted for me 21 times because there was only 3 delegates to split 60 some votes. So
Boy, it sounds like you're from Philadelphia.
yeah, to make the math easy, let's say it was 60. I have 60 delegates in my district. They hand me 60 ballots. I have to return 60 ballots. And if they're not filled out, they're spoiled as as being bought.
You're getting
Yeah, I
muffled,
know, and
Josh.
I feel a little like
Yeah.
grade school when you go up to get your ballots and have to count them out to each other all the time. It's like 1, 2, 3. It's like, oh,
They trashed the ballots this year.
I'm gonna pull my hair out. Oh, already did.
When they used to.
Josh, you're muffled.
Give me a second, just finish passing.
It's the cat again.
Yeah, I got at mine. Out of my district, I had 44 votes for mine, while the rest of everybody else had 45 because I was the junior delegate in my county. So I got the least number of votes available, but we split it up 44 and then everybody else had 45. So, but there was one delegate, and this is why participation matters. One delegate voting against my county would take out 3.5 people because they had 192 votes
Oh,
by themselves. They were voting their entire county strength by themselves because they were the only person to come. So you have to
190
remember
192 delegates?
192 votes.
Right, and it's one vote per delegate.
Yeah.
No, ours is voting your county strength. So
Your
if
county strength.
so, if your county,
Oh,
I'll
So
make
you're one vote, one member, one vote.
something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
One,
So
one dues paying member, one vote.
Okay.
so you could have had 192 delegates there.
no, because it's one
No,
delegate
you get
per
10 votes.
per member.
You get 10 votes per delegate.
Well,
Right.
yeah, because
Minimum.
for my county, voting strength was 125 total. There was 2 of us there as delegates, so one took 62. I took 63 because I'm the senior board member.
So you vote for the
Okay.
number of dues paying members you have in your county, and
Yeah.
at least
Right.
in our state, it's per county or county grouping.
Yeah.
Because some counties have merged together because of lack of participation. So
Right.
those counties,
You
not
see-
only do they get the strength of the county that they live in, but if they have other counties that they've merged with, they get the strength of those counties too. And if they're the only one coming up from a 2, 3, 4 county section, they're going to have a lot more votes than somebody coming up from a single county that has good participation.
Hmm.
Okay, so like we do it. So if, for example, my district is right around 350, and I believe we get one delegate per 6 members,
No.
and you get a vote per delegate. So I had like 60, 61 delegates available. So I get those 61 votes. So each vote I cast is for 6 members.
All right, ours is by 10. I've never heard it by 6, and then you get one
Yeah, ours-
extra for anything above that.
And ours is by 10 too.
Yeah, I don't write the rules.
No, but
You
you
can
put,
if you pass a constitutional change.
you can write a
Yeah,
resolution.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had
And there's
That'd
a
be a
great
lot
episode we
that'd
did.
be a
There's a
lot
great
less
episode we
ballots
did
to
on
go out.
writing them.
You guys talking about this? We had 36. We here in Kansas, we do things a little differently because one, we're small. You're talking about a delegate for every 6 or every 10 members. We basically, if you're a member in good standing and you show up to the convention and you are registered by the opening day of convention, you're seated as a delegate. And we had 36 total delegates at our recent convention. Just to put it in perspective a little bit.
Yeah,
a little overwhelmed.
We had 228 attendees total, non-delegates and delegates.
And I know there's some states out there that have even less delegates than that, and you have even less dues paying carriers. You think
Yeah.
about states like Alaska, Hawaii, places like that, which have a very small region of delivery that they do, and the number of carriers that cover those areas.
And they don't. And Alaska and Hawaii are actually the 2 states that don't have a state association. They are members of a additional state association.
Well, I volunteered to go to Hawaii and set one up.
You know what? Having made a
just
trip to
imagine, just imagine
having
the
made
cost to go to the conventions.
not if you're in Hawaii, you
True.
know, um,
Yeah, you
because
get
believe
paid
it or
by the
not,
mile.
I found this interesting when I was coming back from Hawaii. I didn't notice it when we landed, but the airline you can't get there on this airline, but the airline that or one of the airlines that does the island hopping in Hawaii is Southwest. I'm like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
you can't fly out here on Southwest, but you can get around the islands on Southwest, which I thought was kind of interesting. But
Well, yeah,
anyway,
they had that incident with the Aloha Airlines 737 where the whole roof came off.
a big chunk of the roof came off. Yep, I remember
I
that.
have an I have an alibi for that day.
Yeah, I'm sure you. I
But
was too young to do anything.
that's what the 737 was built for, though, was those short haul, short hops
Yep.
flights. And Southwest is the largest owner of 737s in the world. So to have them take over the short haul flights down in Hawaii is probably beneficial because they have all the tools and equipment and knowledge to deal with the 737 as it is. But we're getting off track here.
Right. Like, so,
But
yeah, our smallest district in the state is 47 members with 8 votes, and the largest is 427 members with 72 votes. And I apologize, I have 348 members with 58 votes this year.
so yeah, it's one of the things we've been always pushing on this podcast is participate, get involved, get with your union, go to your county meetings, get involved, run for delegate, go to your state convention, because there's so much information, not only at those meetings, but you also, some of them have boosters, your spring booster, your fall booster, things like that, where you can get information. And it's valuable information for any rural carrier. Most of it is, the union is big on dues paying members being involved and things like that. But non-dues paying members can be observers as well in these conventions. They can't speak unless they get somebody to suspend the rules for them, but you can go and learn.
Education's the most important part.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And in going as a non-delegate, I think you kind of take the whole thing in a little bit differently than you are as a delegate. But just to be able to watch and see everything, and not only, like James said, having somebody get up there and suspend the rules to let you speak, and if you're not comfortable going to a mic, you can always find a delegate that would be willing to speak on your behalf as well.
Yeah, when I did it last year and I was a non-delegate, that was the two options I had to pass my resolution, was to either get somebody to suspend the rules or convince somebody to be willing to stand up and talk about it. Now, considering that at National somebody did stand up and talk about it for me because I was not able to go, I probably could have done that option. But that's on the table as well, because I know if you're at my state convention, you can come to me with something and I'll help you with it. No problem, because that's what we're here for. We want participation. We want people to step up and be like, I want to see this happen in this union, because your voice is the union just as much as it's my voice, just as much as it's anybody's on this podcast voice. Your voice matters just as much as mine. And all you need to do is apply yourself to this. Come, participate, get involved, see how it goes. And who knows, maybe you'll like it and run for delegate next time.
Absolutely. It's having, especially with National, that's our next big one here in a month and a half, is a national convention. James did make delegate. I am not a delegate currently. I have to wait for a dozen people or so to say that they're not going in order for me to make delegate, but that's not going to stop me from going. Obviously, I wasn't a delegate last year to Orlando either. I was a delegate, however, in Grapevine in 2019. So, anything can happen. But yeah, just being able to take it in and see the process, I definitely recommend going, even if you don't want to go as a delegate or can't go as a delegate.
And if you can afford to go.
Yes, because that's where roommates come in handy.
Yeah.
Because especially...
Yeah, I'm working on figuring that out.
I do have a roommate for this year, same person I roomed with for state, so we made our plans for national. And yeah, and I think I was already starting plans for national for next year as well. Definitely get involved. If even if it's only one day that you can go, you can still get so much information on that one day that and you can talk to people too, and you can get further information, at break times, lunch times, afterwards, in the morning before it officially starts. I mean, there's just so much information that one can get, even if it's just one or, 1 or 2 days at national, even, or one day at your state convention. And if you can go to your
Yeah.
board meetings to observe, I highly recommend doing that, because that gives you a whole nother perspective on how things are ran behind the scenes.
Yeah, I know at a state convention, people were starting to gather around at the doors around 6 in the morning, sitting down in the chairs, talking with each other, going over the paperwork and stuff like that. And you can literally walk up to anybody at your convention and start talking with them about this stuff.
Yeah.
And I have not met a single person at my convention, at least, that didn't want to take the time to discuss this stuff with other people. Whether you were a delegate or a non-delegate, it didn't matter to them. They all wanted you to bounce ideas off each other and learn from each other and understand how it all goes together as a group. And that's the whole point of a union, is for everybody to get together and basically get on the same page. So that way our collective voice is a lot stronger than a single voice.
All right, guys, I think we're going to wind it down here. We're going on an hour and a half-ish. So, Mike, your last sentiments for the night?
Just heating up, folks. Just we were talking before the show about training a new sub in an LLV. Just if you've been at this for a long time, the steps you need to do to keep yourself safe out there. Drink water, frozen water bottles or cooling towels. Just don't let the heat beat you, because I just saw not too long ago that we lost another carrier in the heat down in Texas. So folks, take care of yourselves and do the things you have to do to beat the heat.
Josh.
This is going to be a short week. It'll be like 2 Mondays because the holiday's on Tuesday, but just take it in stride. Try not to get overwhelmed. If you do, take a step back, take a deep breath, and step back in there. Have a good week and be safe.
James.
Yeah, like was said before, the heat is going to be no joke, and it's here to stay for the summer. And it doesn't matter how long it takes you. If you need to seek air conditioning, especially people in LLVs, especially rural carriers in LLVs, or people who have delivery vehicles that don't have air conditioning, stop somewhere, get into some AC, get in the shade, cool yourself off. Because last year I actually got heat sickness in an LLV, and I was down for 2 days afterwards, sick, and it's no joke. And your body never actually recovers from that. I'm still more affected by heat now than I was before after being sick from it. So take care of yourself, take care of your body. And I know management's going to get upset at you for having stationary events if you're cooling off, but your safety is more important than their computer program. So be safe, be smart, take care of yourself, take care of your body, because it's the only one you got. And make sure you take your time, do it right, and stay cool out there.
Bill.
As a public service announcement, ladies and gentlemen, when you're going to have extreme heat, you need to start drinking as soon as you get up. By time you realize that you're having problems with the heat, your body cannot process the water you're putting in at that time. You have to build up your defenses before you go outside. So please drink before you're exposed to the heat. This is years and years of experience as an EMT. Trust me, people think that you can sit there and chug fluids. It does no good. It's already affected you to the point where you're not going to be able to operate efficiently in that heat. So do me a favor, start drinking in the morning, get the fluids into your system That's how you build up your ability to sweat, perspire, which is your way of dealing with the heat. Okay. By the time you realize that you're not perspiring and you're feeling faint, it's a little late. Okay. Go out there, do the best you can. Like James says, don't worry about the computer, the nodules kicking off that you're standing idle somewhere. Take care of yourselves because you are the most important delivery of the day. Get home to your families. Okay. Do a good job. Be safe. Protect yourself.
Yes.
Uh,
Thank you, Bill.
I would
Go ahead,
I
Josh.
was just gonna say with what Bill was saying about starting to drink in the first thing in the morning. They actually tell us here to start drinking the night before, so it'll already be in your system and you're already starting to be hydrated.
I drink every night.
Yeah.
Well,
Water.
hey, clear liquids,
Like vodka.
Non-alcoholic.
Yeah.
non-caffeinated.
Non-alcoholic and avoid sugary drinks.
And carbonation.
Yes.
Boy, y'all just rain on my
And
parade.
caffeine.
No, but not serious, guys. It is July. A lot of us drive those tin cans on wheels and easy bake ovens, whatever else you want to call them. Yeah, I was actually the one that was talking about that before, and I'm starting to train a new RCA on Wednesday. And looking at my weather, it is supposed to be 87 degrees, and I'll be riding in the jump seat. I will be prepared. I'm actually drinking my fluids now, my water. Thank you. No alcohol for me tonight, as it's supposed to be in the high 70s tomorrow, but I'll be on that big route. So hydration is the key. I want everybody to stay safe. Yeah, definitely out there. With the heat, when my newer RCAs is, I'm not a small person by any means, as those that have met me. My other RCA that is just doing absolutely awesome is on the larger side, and I'm always constantly checking on him. Management went out and checked on him the other day to make sure, took him out a cold bottle of water. And it's like, I just told him, I said, just make sure you stay hydrated. When I went and took route off of him, I said, do you need a Gatorade or a water? I have both. He's like, no, I got like, he had like 4 bottles of water and 4 smaller bottles of Gatorade. And, he was having to stop intermittently just to get out of the truck and cool off because it was cooler outside, as we all know. So, yeah, definitely, it's that time of year, people. Stay safe, stay hydrated. Cooling towels, if you have a cooling apparatus that you can take with you in your truck, don't forget those. I know I'm going to go throw some bottles of water in the freezer here when I get off here tonight. So, on that note, stay safe, everybody. Have a good week. Have a happy, safe 4th of July. We don't need anybody losing any appendages lighting off fireworks. I can tell you there was an incident several years ago in northern Michigan where somebody went to light a firework off. It didn't go off. They went and stood over it. It went off, and yes, they lost part of their manhood. So on that note, stay safe, everybody. Stay hydrated. Seek cooler temperatures if possible, and don't stand over fireworks if they're not going off properly. And we will be back next week.